Hi, you guys. Welcome back to another episode of the New Day with Natalie podcast. I am your host, Natalie Louise. Welcome back to episode 3 of a 4-part series where we dive into the avoidant attachment style and how an avoidantly attached person reacts in different types of relationships. We already talked about the avoidant attachment within friendships and coworkers. That was the first 2 episodes. And now we're on episode 3 where we're going to be talking about the avoidant attachment style within the parent and child relationship. Okay. So if you missed those 2 other episodes, watch those after this one. And the last episode will be all about the avoidant attachment style within the family dynamic relationships. When you're a parent, it's a tough job. You have a lot of responsibilities, but if you also have an avoidant attachment style on top of being a parent, being stressed out with work and life and your schedule and all the things, and then also maintaining a romantic relationship and also raising a kid, it can feel like a lot of things are going on. But how does someone become an avoidantly attached parent? Well, it develops within childhood. Typically, it also could develop within your first romantic relationship, or it could have developed in your early years of life when someone that you really depended on cut the trust or cut you short or just neglected you or made you feel like you should just figure it out on your own and be independent and not ask for help. It depends and it's different for everyone. Avoidant attachment style often begins in early childhood when the parent of the child is emotionally unavailable. They might be dismissive or they might discourage emotional expression. During that time, the avoidant child learns that, okay, if I need my needs met, my parent, my caretaker is not going to help me. So I'm in this alone and I have to figure out how to meet my needs on my own. So they adapt to this way of living by being self-reliant, by being autonomous, by being very independent and figuring things out on their own and just keeping their thoughts and emotions inside and just suppressing them in order to survive, in order to live and operate within that household. Now, over time, that pattern of just suppressing emotions and being independent and doing things all by yourself and not relying on anyone else can definitely dampen your future relationships, whether that be your romantic relationships, your friendships, your coworker relationships, or your parent and child relationship when you have a child growing up. That child that was neglected when they were younger and experienced that type of childhood then becomes a parent down the road, an adult, and they might still have that avoidant attachment. What does it look like when an avoidantly attached parent that experienced that childhood then has a child themselves? Like, do they flip the script and all of a sudden take great care of their child and not neglect their child because they don't want that to happen to their kid because it happened to them and it was the worst thing ever? Well, let's talk about it. Here are a couple of signs of an avoidant attachment within a parent and child relationship. First, either the parent or the child struggles with expressing emotions or is just very uncomfortable with emotions, being around people that are too emotional, crying, excited, sad, just feeling down. They struggle to be around someone with an overwhelm of emotions. Another sign is the parent or child might feel uncomfortable with physical affection, or they might feel uncomfortable with verbal expressions of love. So if either the parent or child has a hard time saying, I love you, the parent or child might have that avoidant attachment style. Okay, again, these are just signs. If you have one of the signs, it doesn't mean you have an avoidant attachment. It just means it's one of the signs that someone with an avoidant attachment style might possess. Another sign is either the parent or child might prioritize their independence over seeking help from someone else. Another sign is either the parent or the child might feel resentment or frustration when emotional needs are placed upon them. Another sign is the parent or the child might tend to minimize or dismiss past childhood experiences. So just thinking about the past, thinking about when they were all alone and had to figure things out on their own, it was probably a rough road. So thinking back to those moments in time, opening up those emotions again, it's uncomfortable. So either the parent or the child just does not like to discuss that. And finally, another sign is either the parent or the child struggles to comfort or emotionally connect with other children. Let's break down the dynamic. Okay, so we have the child and we have the parent. Okay, so let's first talk about what it's like to be an avoidantly attached child when your parents are neglecting you. For the child, growing up with an avoidant attachment style as a child meant that that child had to take care of themselves emotionally, which can be a huge load, especially when you're young, okay? Now, a lot of times avoidantly attached parents might take care of their child physically, like giving them shelter, place to live, food, water, all the things, like basic necessities to live. But that emotional support was completely absent when that child was growing up. That's not to say that the child doesn't believe that their parents love them. When you're a child with an avoidant attachment style, you believe that your parents love you and they care about you, but their way of showing that they love you and care about you is by encouraging you to take care of yourself, encouraging you to be independent and figure it out on your own, okay? Because you have nothing else to compare the way that your parents are treating you. You can ask your friends, you might notice a couple things as you grow up, like, oh, my parents made me get all the groceries during the week, or whenever I had a hard time, I had to just figure it out on my own. And your friends might tell you a different scenario, like when I had a rough time, my parents gave me love and they hugged me and they brought me my favorite meal and just took care of me in a different way. So you might notice there's a little bit of a difference, but when you're young, that's not necessarily something that you're comparing and like keeping tabs and notes. When that child then becomes an adult, they might continue to maintain a lot of surface level relationships because it feels safer to be closed in, not be emotional, not cause any disturbances, because that's what they did when they were younger, okay? Also, they might begin to avoid these deep emotional connections, or they might just avoid relying on their parents for support, even in their adult life, or relying on anyone else in their life, friendships, romantic relationships, coworker relationships, your boss, whatever. That's what it's like for an avoidantly attached child. Let's talk about how a parent acts when they have an avoidant attachment style and they have a child, okay? So a lot of times the emotional connection with their child might feel very overwhelming, or it might feel like a completely foreign concept. Like to listen to your child, listen to their emotions, provide them with support, provide them with love. Like it's very uncomfortable, okay? Because your child's going to have emotions, but it's something that as someone with an avoidant attachment style, that was something you never really tuned into. You always ran away from it, or you suppressed your own emotions. So when your own child has those emotions and is asking for support, it can feel overwhelming. It's like when you feel overwhelmed, it basically means that you can't control, like your mind thinks that you physically cannot take care of this problem. So your mind gets overwhelmed and you go into like a panic attack, or you just shut down. That's how people react. Either they have a panic attack or they shut down and just leave the scene. That's how avoidants usually react. Avoidantly attached parents might also struggle to comfort their child in a distressful situation, or just might choose to dismiss their emotions altogether. Again, they don't mean to do this. They're more unintentionally repeating that cycle that they were put into when they were younger, okay? Of this emotional distance. Whenever someone's emotional, distance yourself, suppress your own emotions, pretend like it's not happening, and find an escape route, okay? So that might be happening unintentionally. And the thing is, avoidantly attached parents often believe that they're actually helping their child by encouraging them to do things on their own, or kind of dismissing certain emotions and helping them to grow up faster and just figure things out on their own because that's what they did, so why can't you? A lot of times they might encourage that self-sufficiency, and they also might discourage emotional dependence. So if their child starts to depend too much on them, they'll be like, no. They'll push them away and teach them to figure it out on their own and comfort themselves, and basically neglect their child just like they did when they were younger. Again, this isn't all parents with an avoidant attachment style. This is just one angle that you can look at. Avoidant parents also could downplay their child's emotions, again, neglecting or just dismissing, pushing them aside by saying things like, oh, you're fine. Oh, why are you crying? Stop crying. It's gonna be okay. They might say like, just handle it on your own. Like you can figure it out, or you're a big boy, or you're a big girl, figure it out. Just like dismissing their emotions, not actually accepting the fact that that's how they feel, and hoping that they're toughening up their child by pushing them aside, dismissing their emotions, and not letting them be a kid, not letting them feel their emotions, and kind of freaking them out in a sense to not feel comfortable to express their emotions when they're feeling something, right? But in reality, it's actually making your child feel unseen, because someone with an avoidant attachment style, even though that's how they felt when they were younger, that's all they know. So teaching or parenting in a different way seems foreign. That's what I was talking about. It's overwhelming to to be with someone that's too emotional, even if it's your child, okay? So you don't want to like not care about your child, but you just want them to be tough and strong. So you think that's what happened to you, so why not do that to your child as well? Avoidant parents might also prioritize practical support, such as providing food, shelter, water, just the basic necessities that you need to live instead of that emotional support. And in some cases, avoidantly attached parents might feel frustrated or even irritated when their child seeks closeness. Again, not because they don't love their child, but because emotional intimacy just feels so uncomfortable, so foreign, and they don't know how to handle it. In any other relationship within their life, they just run away. So they do the same thing within their parent-child relationship by just dismissing those emotions and telling them like, you can figure it out on your own. Like, do you need me for this? Like, why are you telling me this? Figure it out, kind of like giving them a little boost, but that again makes your child feel completely unseen. Again, this is not how all avoidantly attached parents operate within their parent-child relationship, okay? I have worked with a lot of you guys one-on-one, and a lot of you guys have children. And even when you struggle with that avoidant attachment, it sounds like you're still very much there for your children. So the other avenue is if you have that avoidant attachment and you have a child, sometimes you are the ones that flip the script and turn things around. You are the ones that want to make sure your child feels seen. And you dig deep into your past and you realize that emotions are scary, but you don't want your child to feel unseen, neglected, all alone. You want to give your child that love that they truly deserve. So what I see a lot of times as well is that second route, which is there's an avoidant attachment parent and they act like an avoidant towards their romantic relationships, but they're very secure within their parent-child relationships, okay? Because they love their children so much and they want to be present and there for their children so much. Now, it doesn't mean that they might slip up a couple of times and, work gets busy or they're just stressed out with their romantic relationship or maybe their friendship drama or whatever it is, and they're not there for their child. And honestly, sometimes that happens when you're not even trying. Think about it. When the avoidantly attached child is growing up, when like the parent was a child, they sometimes felt neglected by their parents, and that's how their avoidant attachment formed. But sometimes the parents aren't trying to neglect you. It's just because work is crazy, life is crazy, the other relationships are crazy. They're trying to move, they're trying to buy a house, they're trying to handle the money, they're trying to do everything. And sometimes they accidentally neglect their child. So that's what I see a lot of times. It's a mixture. It's never like full blown, what I've seen working with you guys one-on-one, it's never like the avoidant completely hates their child and wants them to just figure it out on their own. Sometimes that can be the extreme. It's kind of like a seesaw. That's how the avoidant attachment works. Sometimes you're fully present, sometimes you're fully in it, sometimes you want to be in the emotions, and sometimes it's too much. Sometimes you need to back up and just figure things out. How can you build a more secure parent-child relationship? Okay, so for parents that have children and struggling with that avoidant attachment, what I would recommend is just practice being as emotionally available to your children as you possibly can be, okay? And I always recommend taking small steps, okay? So small actions like just validating their feelings, saying like, I understand how you feel. Like, do you want to tell me more? Just being that microphone for them so they could just talk and allow you to listen and feel like you're there for them and that they're seen, okay? Maybe offering some physical affection, like giving a hug or giving a kiss or just high five, like letting them know that you love them and that you're there for them, okay? And if you can, just simply listen, because that can go a long way. Just listen to what they're going through, listen to how you can help them or what they need, and give it to them. So that is it for this episode, you guys. Thank you for listening to the third part of the series. If you guys have a very specific relationship issue or story and you'd like to share with me, please feel free to sign up for a one-on-one video coaching call with me. I'll leave a link for that one down below. And also, if you'd like to work on healing your attachment style and becoming more secure, I did write a book. I will leave that down below as well if you'd like to read it and learn how to heal your attachment style on your own. So that is it for this episode, you guys. I will see you in the next one. Bye.